Greetings, peace and power, everyone. Let me welcome you to our newest installment of Anu Asafo, where we are specializing in highlighting global and indigenous spirituality, original spirituality, impactful spirituality, and the powerful cultural systems, deep thought, and norms that have sustained the cosmos and the evolutionary forces since the beginning of time and before time. I am Chief Jegna Yuya Asan Anu, and I am serving as somewhat of a co-host on this segment. I know typically you're not used to hearing me on Anu Asafo, but just for this segment, this time, I was allowed to come in and provide just a leader and a precursor into what we're going to be speaking about. In this segment, we're going to be speaking with our dear brother Bakir Tahimbe, and he comes out of the New Orleans area, and we had a wonderful opportunity to visit a store that he runs by the name of Black Star, which is located in the Algiers, West Algiers section of New Orleans. And the Black Star Cafe is not only a space where you can come in and fellowship and, of course, get your libations, such as your coffee and things like that, but it's a space, it's a watering hole, and it provides support to the grassroots educational community within the New Orleans area. So this is a very important space. This is a very important person to the New Orleans area, and our dear sister Kim, who, as I specified before, has come on board as our media coordinator. She was able to have a wonderful conversation with Brother Bakir. But before we get into that actual segment, I just want to remind everyone that I'll be in Baltimore on September 6th at Everyone's Place, and I'll also be at the Pagan Pride Festival September 27th, and on December 27th, the second day of Kwanzaa, Kujichagulia, I will be in Philadelphia, Black and Nobel, giving a lecture, and that should be around, I think, 7 p.m., and I'll be discussing the 14 African principles in that segment. Very important for internal community adjustment and external nation building. And what we'll be discussing in Baltimore at Everyone's Place, of course, is dealing not only with self-actualization, but hands-on tools to start bringing about the life and the existence that we say that we hold so dear. That life and existence that we look and we marvel at when we look at our ancestors and say, well, why aren't we doing those things in this time? Well, these are the things that we're addressing. Certainly, tomorrow evening, I want you to keep an ear out for Masterminds Monday, where we'll be discussing wealth with Felicia Terrell New and Damon Rawls. In that particular segment, we're going to be discussing corporate America, and I was gifted again with an opportunity to share my insight and my perspective on that segment, so you'll hear some of what I have to say as well about the corporate American or the American corporate structure. In this segment, I really want you all to pay close attention to some of the initiatives that this brother, and of course, he works within a family context. When we visited his cafe, he was there, and he had his mate there, and they were working together side by side. So, family business. And that's what it's about in this season. This is not about us being able to improve, or to really prove to others our ability to work independently. But what's more impressive is our ability to work in groups. Okay, so this brother has proven that not only working within a family context, but has also even pulled up one of his previous students in the name of Samori Kamara. Some of you may be familiar with him. He used to have a segment that he would do on YouTube, and a brother he had partnered with called the Sons of Malcolm X. So, this is about each one teach one, and the older brothers reaching a hand back and creating a lane and a structure for the younger brothers to come through, addressing a question that was asked recently in the Anu Spiritual Training Group with how do we channel and really cultivate the anger of our young people? Where do we send it? Where do we push it? And how do we accommodate it? Well, this is a perfect example of what we're going to be discussing in this show, of how that can actually go on. But if you haven't already checked out some of the video offerings that we've put up some of the highlights of the self-actualization tour, make sure you head over to YouTube and do that. youtube.com/Anu Nation. And subscribe. Okay, do the same thing with the Haru Hassan page as well. Subscribe. That's youtube.com/SUNZOF and the word Sankofa, Sons of Sankofa. I also urge you for the Blog Talk Radio Show to click the follow button. That helps us to know, not only how many followers we have, but where people are, demographics, and some little information like that, which helps me deliver better content to you all, and to find people in your area to work with. But in any event, we're getting ready to get into this interview. I'm excited about it. It was an excellent one, and Sister Kim's premiere launching into the world of Anu Asafo as a host. So here we go. Check it out.
I know that you have the Black Star Cafe, which is family run. And I just wanted to ask, what was the motivation behind that particular initiative?
Okay, so Black Star Books and Cafe started in 2010 after a young comrade and I established a African-centered homeschool, community-based homeschool. And what we did is, instead of, seeking out, large tuition from our parents and families, we decided to, establish a business that would support the school, since our whole context and concept is, nation building. So we started the school 2009. By March 2010, we had opened up the coffee shop. Not really clear about what the product was going to be at the time. So we did some research and found that coffee is like the second largest traded commodity on the planet. So we went with coffee. Now we still have the same relationship and commitment, to Kamali Academy, as well as some other community-based home schools that we've helped to develop, like a Granola in New Orleans. We've developed what we call a ACENET, African-Centered Educational Network. And the Black Star Cafe now is used more as a hub for, building an African-centered, community. So, we have a few things like the Liberation Lounge, which is a live music set with spoken word, MC, and singing. Musicians are welcome to, jump in with the band. Free Souls Band is our house band now. We have a night called with Power Lines, where we do all spoken word. We're developing a cultural enrichment program that kind of aims at the whole family. So on Wednesdays and on Saturdays we do we have some games that we play, like chess and Mancala and Scrabble. And in our case, when we play Scrabble, you get extra points for words that are, from one of our traditional, native tongues. So it forces you to, figure out some new words in an African language, which is, a plus for us, because language represents so much power. So, and it's more, we're open every day, except for Mondays. And like I said, the whole agenda is to develop and establish, a power base for ourselves as a people.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, for those listening, I'm here speaking to Bakir Kahemba. Did I pronounce that right, brother?
Kahembe, yes, sir.
Kahembe, okay. Yeah. Bahende. And we are speaking about some of the initiatives and the work that he has going on in the New Orleans area. As many of you know, I just finished making a pilgrimage from that space and doing some work with the people who are there. And, of course, I will be returning. And throughout that journey and while we were there were some who had mentioned this brother and the work that he was doing with the actual store. And, of course, we met one of your homeschool, you're hosting your facilities, brother who runs it. I met him out in Congo Square Park. So, some good symbiosis going on there. Obviously, in New Orleans, people are cooperating with one another to make things happen and forming collectives. And, of course, I am Yuya Anu, and I'm here with today's co-host, our media coordinator, Kim. And I'm going to let you take it from here. But, I wanted to just kind of put the background out there first before we even do introductions, because sometimes we get off into who's who as opposed to what that person is doing. And the work you're doing is so critical. It's so crucial, especially at a time like now, down in that area. Spent some time down there. And because of the work that I do with the spiritual work, a lot of our spiritual sessions just turn into straight emotional therapy sessions. There's still a lot of people who are feeling a great sense of dejection and fragmentation off the heels of Katrina. So anyone who's down there and who's doing healing work and work that is rearing community and cultivating and developing community should be highlighted and most certainly supported. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to you. Yes.
Thank you, Chief. Greetings, Brother Bakir. How are you today?
Doing well, black and fine.
Great. It's great talking to you today. I know you just gave us a small introduction, but I wanted to go back a little bit and ask you about, your life there in New Orleans. Were you born there, or did you come in from somewhere else? How long have you been there in New Orleans?
Born and raised, 42 years, on the West Bank in Algiers. So it's only fitting that because I love African people so much, we established Little Africa here in Algiers.
Okay. So you were there in the area before and after Katrina.
Yes.
What kind of effect do you think Katrina had on your area or your neighborhood specifically before and after Katrina? Did your area reflect African culture more before Katrina, or is it like a reemergence of things now post Katrina?
I think it's been, for the most part, pretty consistent. If you are familiar with Algiers or even say Zora Neale Hurston's book, she historically she's been here often. When she would come to New Orleans, she'd come to Algiers. There's a strong spiritual essence here in Algiers. A lot of our traditional spiritual practices, and then of course the Vodun
right.
had a lot of our people, famous people coming this way. But the odd thing about Algiers is that it was the receiving place for enslaved Africans when the French were doing the heavy trading here. So, there's a consistent presence, of Africans, in this area, culturally even.
Okay. Another question is that you were talking earlier about your bookstore. What inspired you to open a bookstore in this age of, Kindles and iPads and Oyster and all of these other, kind of instant little services we have for books now?
Well, I'm one of those hardheads who don't appreciate the digital age as much as most others, right? One thing about books, for me is just the feel of having a book in front of you and not having to, fix your eyes on that digital screen and the whole nine. So there was a lot of, kickback, or a lot of our people discouraging me from opening a bookstore. And, I just took it that we just don't know ourselves. So once we understand and know ourselves, there'll be, a lot of book readers coming over to read and discuss them.
Did you see this opening the bookstore is like, well, first of all, was your neighborhood or your area severely damaged by Katrina, or
so
what
we didn't
like?
Yeah, we didn't get the flooding, the water. They blew the levees on the east bank of the river. So we're on the west bank. That's why they call it East Bank, West Bank. It's what side of the river you're on. So no water. One Algiers is like one of the highest points in the city, and then two, like I said, they blew the levees on the other side. So we got some wind damage. The storm wasn't as damaging as the detonation of the levee. You know what I mean? So there was a great deal of effort to keep us out, of our home. People who were stuck on the East Bank around the Superdome and the convention center, when they attempted to walk across the bridge into Algiers, onto the West Bank, Jefferson Parish's police force, lined up at the base of the bridge with, weapons and dogs.
Wow.
And turned the people back around.
Really?
So, that's something that's not spoken of a whole lot, but it's a real vital, thought or idea.
Really? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because I would think that a situation like that would spark, some type of gentrification kind of project. Everybody's fleeing from one area to the next.
Yeah.
And the fact that you all kind of, kept people from coming in, that's pretty close to amazing there.
Yeah. It was terrible. And in fact, there has been a whole lot of, gentrifying of our neighborhoods. New Orleans, as on the whole, much like, a lot of our other larger cities, Brooklyn and Harlem and things, there's a lot of European presence from other cities, mostly coming in, purchasing, homes for little nothing. It's that what they call it, disaster capitalism. Unfortunately, we were set up in a sense to say, when you are shipped to other cities, life is so much better because they're giving you all of these extra incentives, and then maybe the economy is a little better depending on what you're into, and then you end up not wanting to come back to New Orleans. And then by the time you do come back to New Orleans, like one of the things they did was they jacked up the prices of rent.
Right.
They got rid of Section 8, put in something called DHAP to assist, renters, and rent for, say, a 3-bedroom apartment that was maybe $450 to $500 a month is now $1,200 to
wow.
Yeah, I mean $13. So so much has been done real slick, like real mathematically, to change things, on this part.
Wow. So, for your particular neighborhood, most of the people that lived there before the flood, were they still there afterwards, or did things like that kind of push them out?
Yeah, one of my neighbors, for instance, got to another part of Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana, purchased a house out there, wanted to sell, their house here, but wanted, like top dollar for it, and it was too much going for, under market value. So they got stuck with the two, mortgages, and then end up losing, this one. You also had, there was a lot of people who really wanted to be back in New Orleans. So you have multiple families, would be living in, say, a 2, maybe a 3-bedroom shotgun double. One instance was there was 2 sisters and a brother. Sisters had 3 children. The brother had 1 child, and one of the other sisters had 1 child. So you're talking about 3 adults and 4, children in a house in a 2-bedroom double. On one side, that was a beautiful thing to see us,
pull
together. Right. On the other end, it's like it takes you away. It takes you off of your base. You not knowing how to build from there.
Right. Yeah. Well, as far as your bookstore and things, I guess I'm trying to make a segue into your project with the lot, and ask you of how did that affect your particular neighborhood, especially when you talk about us pulling together and coming together again as a result of something like this, and what did that do for the children there and your neighborhood as well?
Yeah, the lot. So let me clear real quick first. The movie that's being shot is one that's being shot by a Caucasian cat that comes and have lunch here a lot. There's still the fence posts are still up in this lot across the street from the cafe. And he asked me about it. I told him the story about it. He went home, came back about 2 weeks later with a whole script written, and now it's a short film that is inspired by my story, not necessarily accurate of what I did, but all the same, it's appreciated. He wants to use it to help us to actually complete a pocket part. So can you tell us a little bit about the situation with the lot? Sure.
That is a basis for the movie.
Yep. So as I spoke of the one family of 2 sisters and a brother with the children, our block had like 48 children, from one corner to the next, and on our block. Not to mention the children who were from a couple of streets down and over. So they played in the street a lot. When I was young, same thing. But I saw an opportunity with an empty lot that was overgrown, with grass, and had 2 big abandoned cars what seemed to me was an abandoned cars at the time, parked on the lot. So what I did was I pulled the cars off the lot, put them in the street because no one would come and get them because it was private property. So once they're in the street, now it's a public problem, right? Right. So they came, got it. I think, so they came, got the cars, we cut the grass, and a couple of my comrades and I, along with a lot of the children in the community, began to put together benches and tables and these playhouses that, children would be able to. I wanted to see them develop a concept of a community on a playground level. So, it was working. I was teaching the children how to, use the, what do you call those things? The power tools and things of that nature. At some point, the inspector for the Historic District Landmark Commission came, saw what we were doing, asked if we had a permit to do it. I didn't have a permit, and he, put a stop work order on the project and, tried to stop it. I still continued, but at some point, the actual owner of the property had come out and saw me working. So we had an agreement, and he was cool with me using a lot. Whenever he got ready to sell it, then we would, remove everything, and that'd be that. But at any rate, the city started pressing him about the work that I was doing on a lot. Threatening them with fines, and then threatening them with, even jail time. And at that point, I laid back, and, we had some, a hearing. Well, we had one hearing. They asked told me I need to give them 30 days to get back with an answer. After 45 days, I received a letter to say that I can continue, building the lot. But by that time, I lost the morale of the community, the children, the parents who used to, bring us lemonade and iced tea and hot dogs and things, So, so I let that one go. And now we're actually looking at another lot that no one had laid claim to. It's more a city property per se. And we're gonna, jump on that and do it again.
Okay. Yeah, I know GGI is really big on encouraging us to find abandoned lots or lots in the city that no one's doing anything with and purchase them. That will kind of eliminate some of that headache. And a lot of times the city may even, donate them to you or give them away since it's kind of an eyesore, so to speak. But fast forward to now, the Little Africa Festival. Did that experience with the lot and with the bookstore, did that have anything to do with this project or?
Yeah, in a sense, it's one feeds the other. The idea of the Little Africa Street Festival feeds into the development of Little Africa. Little Africa is basically our concept of African cultural and business district, much like you would imagine, or not necessarily imagine, much like you see when you go into Chinatown, a little Italy, a little Korea, right? So we started with on the corner where Black Star is. we sit at an intersection of two streets, Belleville and Slidell Street. So what we did is we put up street signs. At the time, there was only one street sign for Slidell Street, none for Belleville. So we put up our own street sign in Swahili, yellow black background, black writing with red, black, and green colors at the edge of the sign. Mm-hmm. And basically, Slidell Street had become Uhuru Street, which means freedom, and Belleville Street had become Nguvu Street, which is power. So on the corner of freedom and power lies Black Star.
Wow.
So the idea is to, like when you go into Chinatown, the words are all in Chinese. Like even the characters, not even, you know what I mean?
Right.
We like I can't read yet any African script.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know some Swahili, and I do know many of our ancestors. So right now we're just gonna go through the section. Have two streets, Uhuru, Nguvu, and then there's another street that we're gonna make Marcus Garvey's Way, where Kamali Academy sits.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like over like one block, or just?
No, it takes up.
And how far will it extend?
It's 10 to 12 at a certain part. It's 12 blocks. I mean, it's 16 blocks, and then at a certain block part, it's 10 blocks, and then in the other direction, it's another 12 blocks. So it's basically it is. Algiers is split up by a street called Opelousas Street, and historically it has always been the divide line between the black side and the white side. Okay. The white side is what they call Algiers Point. The black side is what they call Old Algiers. Okay. So all of Old Algiers basically is going to be Little Africa.
I see. So do you have, as of right now, do you have like a lot of African-centered businesses that will contribute to the festival or contribute to the project?
So that's the magic, right? That's the black magic, as they call it, right? This is something that I personally started pursuing. I've been pushing the idea. Some people really get it. Some people don't get it at all. The Little Africa Street Festival will allow us to celebrate ourselves and allow people who don't get it, or even those who do get it, to be able to see a figment of what it will become. So I say yes. I have full cooperation and support, because our ancestors are watching, right?
That's right.
So as they say, if you don't claim it, you can't name it. So
right.
So there we go. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with the second part of that segment with Brother Bakir Tahimbe and our Kim. And I just wanted to just kind of give a little quick announcement in between and speak about some of the things that we have going on that at our new nation that some of you may want to get on top of. Of course, like I said, you want to check out the events calendar. A lot of times people have been asking me, where will I be? Or I pass through where they're at, and they say, I didn't know you were here. That keeps happening for some reason. I know for some of you, you get to the shows a little late. You live off the archives more so than when the shows actually come out. I completely understand that. So what you want to do is you always want to keep an eye on the event schedule list, which you can get at enlightenmentandtransformation.com. If you go to enlightenmentandtransformation/events, you'll always know what's happening. We keep the calendar pretty updated, at least for the major events. And even on Sedula House, if you frequent that site, and that's where you go to get your rituals and things like that, if you look there, you will also see the events list on the side. So that's where you want to go for events. For those of you who have an interest in doing any form of advertising or sponsoring for Enlightenment Transformation or any of our media channel broadcasts, definitely reach out to, you can send an email to questions@anewnation.org, or you can also send an email to sales@anewnation.org. That's SALES @anewnation.org. And our sales team will get back to you on that one. We're in a mode now where, like I said before, we're switching up the model a little bit, and we're putting out some feelers for different things we're going to be doing. One of which, like I said, on Sundays, I will be working out of high frequency radio with Yusuf L. And of course, I timed it so that show ends right when Anu Asafo begins. That's one of the reasons why I didn't do the 3-hour show. He asked for 3, but I said I would do 2, and then we'll see. Maybe we'll probably expand it to 3 later, because I know he does a 3-hour show, so that his audience is kind of used to that. But I got to make sure I'm back to tune into Anu Asafo, because this is a very important show to me. So you want to be on the lookout for that, as well as we're also in the process now of, like I said, moving the Udemy classes over to Sedulu House. So that also means the forums. I know a lot of times with the Facebook forums, people don't participate as much because people are not into Facebook, but never fear. We're actually moving our forums over to our own servers on Sedulu House. We're in the process of doing that now. It'll be done very soon. It's just been a lot of things happening. Another announcement, we have some DVD packages available for those of you who did not make the show dates and would like to order a DVD. Be on the lookout for that. You'll probably find that on the Enlightenment Transformation page, as well as Orisha Religion. We'll also have them up on Amazon. Okay, and we have a couple of DVD sets so far, and we traveled out with those when we did the tour. We had an Orisha DVD that I did, and we also had a self-actualization one. The Orisha one, I believe, is 2 hours. The self-actualization one is 1 hour. So you got 3 hours of material there in those DVDs, and of course, I'm giving a lot of information. And we're in the process of sculpting another one. If anybody wants to look at any highlights from the tours, again, go to youtube.com/Anu Nation. And there's a video that's up there that just shows, a little bit of some of the things that were spoken about while we were out there doing this sacred work in some of the places that we were out there doing it at. So you want to definitely be a part of that experience, that DVD experience. And again, there's more things on the way very soon with Anu Nation. This is a wonderful time, and we have more announcements coming up as far as what we're getting ready to get back into. But for now, we're going to get back into this interview. Here we go.
That's what I was just going to ask. Despite Katrina and all these opposing forces you've had with the city and everything, to put love back into your community, where does this courage and determination to continue to try to bring these types of things to your community come from? What fuels that desire of responsibility? Because you have some people that, we hear that all the time. We need to buy black and have our own businesses, and no one ever takes even the smallest steps to try to do that, because we feel like it has to be like instant. We want to see, just fully developed businesses overnight. When it just takes even a small step, the smallest step to get started. So where does where does that courage come from?
I think just the way I was brought up. My grandmother was a Baptist evangelist back in the late 60s and early 70s when I was born, right? And she was the woman who the whole community had a certain reverence for and would often come to the house to, you know, get her counsel or advice or whatnot. She, you know, my mother was 16 when she had me, so, you know, she raised me in that sense. And then all my uncles, they were young, teenagers. I had experience, like first-hand experience with older cats who were, you know, Black Panthers and Muslims in the Nation of Islam, and you know, other you know, people who activists and that type. So my grandmother taught me one thing that like sticks with me, because I'm the oldest. Well, I'm not the oldest grandchild, but I was the oldest until my uncle finally claimed my older cousin, right? Okay. Who's a female. So at any rate, I used to have to fight, you know, for myself and my younger brothers and cousins. And I'm a slim cat, short and the whole nine. Well, I grew up, you know, that way. And didn't have the leisure of, you know, having someone else fight for me. Now, I was, you know, rather likable, so there was a lot of older cats who didn't allow folks to, you know, mishandle me. But I've never been one to bow down, you know, to anything that looks like it's supposed to be more powerful than I, right? So my grandmother taught me courage and sincerity is that which is rewarded greatly, you know, by, well, she, you know, she was big on Jesus, but I translate that as, you know, the ancestors are, you know, the Most High, you know what I mean? Yeah, so, you know, and I hold that position to this day. Like, there's another one when I was 13 years old, speaking to the mosque meetings at Muhammad's Mosque number 46, when they were right next to the St. Bernard Project, which wasn't a place you want to really be if you wasn't from the St. Bernard Project. So, you know, I'd go there, sometimes on the bus, sometimes, you know, catching a ride with one of the brothers in the FOI who was older. They, you know, thinking that my mama was giving me permission or whatever. But at any rate, you know, I'd go, and there was a couple, Sister Manima Shabazz and Brother Fareed Clarence X Shabazz. The way they operated the life, their own life and their family, and you know, this was a family who came up under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, so they had a different kind of, you know, nature about them. But there was so much power because of the lack of fear that I saw in them. You know, so it's like I immediately, you know, gravitated to their family. Was treated like one of their sons, you know, who I'm still friends with, you know, all of their children to this day. But yeah, that, you know, I don't know if I hope I answered the question, but that's, it's a number of things. Right?
Right. That kind of reminds me, Gigi, I just did a 3-segment blog talk show on what he calls the warrior code. And he talks about character and integrity. Character and integrity, as far as, you know, when we take on projects and things of this nature, we have to have that spirit of a warrior. You know, we have to, you know, just go for it. And so what would be your advice to others trying to make changes in their own communities, despite, you know, lack of support or fear? You know, because like I said, a lot of people are just kind of paralyzed and frozen because they don't see how they can make, you know, we want to make big, huge significant changes, not realizing that it's, small things that equal up to something huge in the end.
Right,
so what would be your advice as far as, you can, talk about, trying to change, or transform abandoned lots, or even something as huge as you did. Opening a bookstore is huge, and starting a cafe. What would be your advice on that?
Again, I say it often. It's all in the doing. We abort a lot of our babies from the mind, like from the door, because we overthink all of the limitations, right? One thing I say too, because I'm also an educator and I teach math, so I always tell my students, like, do not operate inside of the confines of the limitation. Meaning, if you don't have a lot of money, don't concern yourself with all of the money that you don't have. Utilize the money that you do have. Right? Utilize whatever resources. That the movie I just watched it. Matter of fact, the Spook That Sat by the Door. Right. Church. Dan Freeman. When he taught the young brothers, he said, "Look, you got to utilize the resources that are readily available to you. Figure it out and make that happen. Like, don't worry about what you don't have. You crying about, getting C4, clay, and all that. Like, who's gonna buy it? Or where you gonna buy it from? You know what I mean? Learn what you must learn. So I'll wrap it like my comrade Samori Kamara, who heads the Kamali Academy now, the school that we started. When he, like, I'm 10 years his senior, he was when I was just substituting, he was a 9th grade student of mine. And we had like as he tells us, about 3 days together, and it changed his scope, right? So when he came out of high school, he was a jock when he was in high school. He played basketball, still loved to play, but he changed his mind about education and what it can do and what it means. He went to school, got his undergrad, and then ended up getting a PhD. When he came out from getting his PhD, he came to me and asked me what I was doing. And now I had just finished my last year. I said, this is my last year teaching in the public food system. I'm going to open up my own school. And he could have gotten any, like with a PhD, I'm sure he could have gotten any job he wanted. But he chose to rock with me in pursuit of something that benefits our people. Right? Neither one of us, like, he didn't have a job. I got 8 children with one on the way. And at the time I had 7, right? And, we figured, like, look, we're going to do this. We went knocking on doors through, Algiers. And we started with 2 students. When I told my former students from the school that I was teaching at, that what I was, going to do, they laughed. Like, how you going to start a school? You know what I mean? Like, our people don't, as you said before, we don't see the promise of having, because we only see the large of it. We only see the super Walmart.
Right, exactly.
We don't see Sam sitting on a corner selling 5 and dime, what I'm saying? We didn't see Tuskegee when it was just a chicken coop.
Exactly.
Right?
No, so, like you said, maybe 2 or 3 students.
Yeah. And we started, and now, like, at one point, we had, with AceMet, we had 6 schools open. and we were servicing about 85 students across the city, right? And you know, it's not the easiest thing, and so some of those brothers and sisters that, you know, started them up, they let them go. But we still, with Kamali Academy and Adenk Granola with Mama Liz Fletcher, we still hold about 60 students, you know, collectively. And so all that being said, you know, I think the most important thing is for us to pursue what we imagine, right? Like use your imagination. I think a lot of the things that I've done, like even the playground or the park. I remember on Saturday mornings when cartoons used to come on Saturday mornings, seeing all these commercials and these cartoons. Yeah, for children, and then, you know, they playing with Tonka trucks, and it looked like the whole thing is set up like like whose parents put that yard together like that for this child, right? So now it's like I use the child in me. I go to the imagination of the child in me, and like, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to be a part of. And I'd be damned if anything or anybody who opposes me is going to stop me from being in that world. You can call it a fantasy world or whatever, but I know it's one that will render me happy and free, right? And that's all I desire for African people is love, happiness, and freedom.
Right. And I think too, you know, the African friends that I have, their families value education more than anything. They save up, you know, that is the most expensive thing that they will spend their money on a lot of times. And I think here in the States, since we don't, you know, since we're so used to public education, we don't value school, you know, and you spend your money on the things that you value. So, you know, when you're trying to build these things like schools and things, we have to try to support each other, you know, with the cost, just the cost of things. If you're meeting in someone's house or whatever, you know, just learn to help to fund each other. It's just, we just don't have a value for education, I don't think, as much anymore. Yeah.
No, I think that's true in a lot of cases. But I'm going to say, but also with that is there's no agenda or no contingency plan for us as a people with education. Like when you consider a person with a PhD works all of that time to get information so that they can get a salary that is equal to maybe someone with a master's degree, but a lot of times someone, you know what I'm saying, with a bachelor, then we really have to consider why we are being educated. Now, one of the things about our brothers and sisters on the continent, with colonialization, they are still kind of chasing European standards as well.
That's true. So the first place they go to is London.
You know what I mean? When the people from London got what they got from us.
Right.
And so Brother Amos Wilson says that the purpose of an education, a good education, is to allow the people to utilize that education so that they can survive or thrive. Now, that's not a direct quote, but that's, you know what I mean, what I get out of it. Like, until we consider what we are educating ourselves for, how are we going to use education so that we can thrive? Not to, like, I'm not trying to destroy Europeans or any other group of people, but I have no desire to uphold the European world.
Right.
I want to personally
concern your race first. I mean, you consider your own people first.
Yeah.
As most cultures do. We're not, we're the only ones that seem to want to care about everybody other than us.
Everybody else. You know what I mean?
And I can definitely relate. I live in a small town that's predominantly black, and most of the people, most of my friends that I graduated school with, they moved away. And, and they sit around and talk about, what our town used to be, but they went away and built things instead of coming back home to put things back into the city. So, like you said, we have to, where is our loyalty or sense of loyalty, or what exactly are we? What exactly are our goals? What are we trying to do?
Right.
Yeah.
It gets sold out. It gets sold out for the trinkets that looks like we've made it. That's why like we just listen to our language. I gotta make it out. I gotta make it. Like, you know what I mean? Make it out of where? Make it to where? Right? Once you start talking about I. But, we as an African people, it's we. You know what I mean? That's the French yes for us. But, it has to be supported and encouraged through example. Like, I go to, like right now, I really have a desire to be in like a little small hick town. I would love to just live among African people who love living with African people, right? And we can establish our own little state. I don't care, like even if whatever electric company or utility company didn't want to provide utilities for us, like we are wise and intelligent enough to establish and develop our own utilities, right? Like Marcus Garvey said, if a man can do it, a man can do it. You know what I'm saying? Or if a man has done it, a man can do it. So, why we think that, the Europeans, quote unquote, civilization is a monopoly on civilization.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want to take a minute to let you speak about your festival coming up, give us a date, and also to let people know how to get in contact with you if they would like to contribute to the project.
Right on. Again, my name is Bakir Tayahembe. That's Baakir Tyehimba. My phone number is 504-710-7398. The cafe's number, I'm sorry. The number to Black Star is 504-304-9612. We're located at 800 Belleville Street. For those who don't know Little Africa yet, soon it'll be 800 in Google Street.
Right.
And you can also reach us via email, blackstarschool@gmail.com. And you can also reach us at blackstardollars@gmail.com. Everything spelled, accurately. So,
do you have a specific date that, like, if you're going to have a festival or? Go ahead.
So the Little Africa Street Festival is happening this year, September 13th, 2014. I was shooting for September 15th, which was the day that there was the showdown in the Desire with the Black Panther Party and the police department under Moon Landrieu. His son is now the mayor. But at any rate, we we'll be going from 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We're welcoming, performers, historians, anyone who wants to share any ideas about what it means to be African, or they're welcome to come in. I'm not, censoring, not censoring, but I'm not trying to control this festival under what I want personally. This is something for, us to revel and develop. So this is the first one. We'll have another one next year. I anticipate that those who get involved this year will help to make it even better for next year. Yeah.
Okay. Also, this social age now, is there any way people can get in touch with you through social networks?
Yeah, I mean, that's that apprehension of this digital world.
Right.
But we are on Facebook. I have a personal page, which I think I end up doing more than the business page. But you can find Bakir Tayahembe on Facebook. You can find Black Star Books and Cafe. When you put books and cafe all as one word, that is like a person page, and then there's a group page, business page, where books and cafe are all separated words. Okay. So, and we also I'm missing Instagram. Black Star NOLA. Yeah, I think it's just Black Star NOLA.
Okay. Chief, is there anything you would like to add before we wrap it up?
No, I'm appreciative of all the information shared, and beyond the logistics of what you actually have going on, just some of the spirit and energy that's behind it is so important. And I traveled to that neighborhood, and one of the first things that I noted was a difference in feel, just energetically, for those listening and who will pass through. Yeah, and you're there every day, so you obviously know what I'm referring to. But when you get into that space, one of the things that I had said when we were driving through, I said, it would be excellent if they established a community, a cultured community within this space. Yep. And this was before I actually heard about your actual plans. So the wonderful thing, like you said, sometimes it's in the doing, is that because you've established some momentum, you've launched, you've initiated, the project is now in the air. So when people are coming through, they're seeing the village. Because when I drove through, I saw the village already. And that's why I had made that statement, of course, not knowing that you had already put that in the air, and that's what I was feeling, the air of that spirit you put there. So, it's a wonderful space, and for those listening, and you definitely need to support what these brothers are doing. And because not only, like I said, is it crucial and is it imperative, but it's also a basic part of our existence. And like you said with Amos Wilson, he said, your education has to consist of a liberation theology. Your education must liberate you. So this is a sure, tangible way. And I know our people are show and prove people. They don't like to support anything until they see it. Even if it's just a little flag in a tent, then it's like, oh, okay, y'all doing it, Right. Make some time to come through and meet with the brothers, and because they're architects, they're visionaries and they're architects, and we certainly need builders in this time, but the architects and the visionaries are the ones who get it started. And I can tell you, firsthand account, just when I drove through that area and went by the store, I saw it. I saw it in my first eye vision. So what they're doing is very real, you know, and again, I'm thankful for it. I will be coming back through the New Orleans area to do some spiritual work with some people, and I will certainly make a visit every time I'm there to contribute and invest in the work either way, you know, any way that I can.
Right on. I'm glad you said that, because I so desired to, you know, come and see you when you were here, and I missed it. I had a couple things happen over the past couple weeks. I have a schizophrenic uncle, and something, you know, happened in the family, but like, just to hear you make the statements that you just made is very encouraging. And I really desire that when you come back, as we say here in Middle Africa, when you come back home, that we could possibly link up, like my comrade, Brother Shaq, and Mama Fire, like Ayana. They have a radio show on WBOK, and spearheading this thing we call the True Love Movement. You know, Sister Dominique Adana Bonsa, who does our vegan lunches over here, and another brother, Ken Amin, along with a couple other people in our circles. I would love to be able to, like, sit with you if at all possible. You know, just so we can build and learn one another, maybe.
For sure. You have my word. When I come through, I will not hit that highway out of New Orleans without us having that build session. And, you know, like I tell everybody, I tell my students, I tell all the supporters, and I'll say it to you, if I don't sit down and eat with you, I don't know you. So,
right on. Right on.
You know, so that has to be a part of. That's we got to put that on the agenda, brother. That's got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, we got to break bread together. You know, but definitely, you got my energy, and you know, I send a warrior strength out to you, and to the work that's going on. And at any moment, anyone from your collective needs some support. Anything we can do, you know, just put the word out, and we will do all that we can feasibly can to lend a strength to the work. Because, like I said, I went down there, and you know, I just want to say too, because those who listen to this show, you know, they're more hindered and based on a spiritual community. What we do here, you know, with Anu, and you know, you all hear me talk a lot about, you know, applying your spiritual intelligence to your corporeal work, or to your third dimensional work. You know, it's not just enough to hide in your shrine behind your pot, you know, and cast spells and send hexes to people and things like that. You got to get out and put your hands to the work. And like I always say, never do something spiritually that you don't have the heart to do physically. You see, so when people are doing these things in the physical, you know, you got to make sure you put your thrust behind it if that's what you say you're about. If you're about this, ultimately, we would not, the Yoruba, because many people know I center on the Yoruba tradition, but we would not have been able to come up with these great calculations and these magnificent cosmic formulas and how we should interact with the cosmos if we did not have a communal, political, and economic structure that allowed for our ministers and our priests to go into the temples for days on end. Somebody had to make sure their family was eating back home and their homes were protected, and they had water to drink and so forth and so on.
Right.
There was a structure that supported it, you know. So when you have people like yourself and the family down there who are creating those structures, it is not only the responsibility of the spiritual community to support it, but it just makes good sense. It would be foolish to do anything other than that, because these are the individuals who are creating environments and platforms for you to come out there and pour libations and drum and do your incantations. You know, so this is all a part of the same work. So, brother, you know, again, we will link when I come through, and you know, we'll see what the ancestors have for us from there.
Yes, sir. Looking forward. Looking forward.
Well, thank you so much, Bakir, for stopping by and talking with us and sharing your vision with us. And I definitely would like to follow up with you after the date and leading up to the date to see how everything goes.
Yeah, please do. I appreciate the invitation, the reception, everything. So I look forward to, like I say, seeing y'all again, building with y'all, and just as you offered your energy here, know that anything that I can do from this point, you got my energy as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Okay.
All right.
Peace, man. All right.
Uhuru.
Uhuru Sasa.
All right, there you go. So that is our segment. And of course, we had an opportunity to speak with Brother Bakir Tahembe, who again is based out of the Algiers section of New Orleans. And as you can see, he's doing a wonderful work there. All right. And that has been our Anu Asafo segment for this dawning, for this Sunday dawning. And I'm thankful for all of you who took the time to tune in. And I'm even more thankful for all of you who I know after hearing that segment will lend a hand of strength and support to our brother Bakir. Okay, more than just a silent prayer. But if you're in the area, that you will definitely go by Black Star Cafe and you will become a patron and a supporter of that cafe, because they are doing a glorious work. And like he said, the work there at the cafe is not just about creating a business, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's certainly also about establishing a base for children to spring from. This is so important. Whenever you look at any type of invader's plan, anytime you have a colonialistic system, whenever colonies are set up, the first thing that they set up, right after they set up shelter and they secure a water supply, they always establish the school and then the church. Okay, because they're pretty much one and the same. But the school is the beauty of a school or a shule is that in that space, every member of the community has an opportunity to frequent it. From young and old, every member of the community has an opportunity and reason to be in that space. So it's the greatest place that you want to establish a plan and a scheme of indoctrinating your populace with the information that you want them to have. Okay, so it's an important thing for us to support those who are supporting the education of our own. As it has been said many times, only a fool would send their children to their enemy to be educated. And this is a time where we have to cease the foolish behavior. Okay, clearly we've tried certain modalities and ways of other people, and they have not worked for us. Why? Because we have our own way of learning. We have our own way of navigating throughout the world and the globe. And when I say the world, I don't mean the physical planet. So I don't mean the same thing when I'm saying globe. But the world is your perspective, your vision, and your circumference of awareness that you consider to be the sphere of influence that you may have the possibility of influencing yourself. So this is a time now that we create these cookie cutter processes for raising our children. Because there really can be a cookie cutter process. It doesn't have to necessarily be this crapshoot that we consider to be. Maybe this one will come out well and maybe this one will be a dud, who knows. But really there is a process, and these brothers like Bakir and like Brother Samari, they are creating processes and curriculum where we can not only bring out the greatest genius in our own children, but we can replicate this and share this with other children and share this with other families. And of course, for those of you who have been listening, you know that I'm a strong advocate of homeschooling and taking our children out of these warehousing institutions that are financed by the same institutions that own the prisons. It really doesn't really make sense to put your child into that space for them to go into an environment where they're not going to see much that's going to reflect their own indigenous genius. They're not going to see images that reflect their genius, and their true story is not taught. But why should it be? I don't blame the schools for that. The schools are doing what they were put there to do, and they're doing an excellent job at doing it. Okay? So I never will blame my adversary for them making a strong move, for them making a wise move that secures their position and helps to ensure their genetic survival. That is what they're supposed to do. Now, what are we supposed to do? Okay? When you go to their schools for education or training, they teach you an education that is going to support their system, that is going to maintain that status quo, as they should. So in the same instance, our education should be liberation based. And once we get past the point of liberation, our education should bring about freedom. And those of us who are supporting that movement and supporting movements like the Little Africa movement to establish spaces again where young people and even adults can see environments that reflect their greatest works, that reflect their genius, these are the individuals that we need to support. Last Underground Thursday, if you haven't heard it, I advise you all to go back and check the archives. One of the things that you would have heard is that I did a whole rundown on how to establish a simple and basic solar generator system. Okay, now that's actually directly connected to the things that we're speaking about here. It's that self-sufficiency, that ability to live off the grid and of course to live off the land. Once you can begin to establish those modalities in a real way, you can raise your children however you want to. Never be tricked into the thought and the idea that the state has any stake in your children. If they cannot prove themselves to be a third-party biological parent by law, then they have no stake in, and by law, no obligation to care for your children unless those children are wards of the state. So we have to stop signing our children over into these institutions, because once they get into those schools, they're socialized in so many different ways that we can't really monitor. We can't keep an eye on them. Okay, and the same instance when they're walking through neighborhoods and localities that we don't necessarily approve of, or we don't have control in those spaces or family in those spaces, then anything and everything happens to them. So this is a great initiative. What they're doing, it needs to be supported, and it needs to be replicated throughout the global African village. And with that this has been our segment of Anu Asafo. Make sure if you're interested in classes with the Sedula House, you sign up, sedulahouse.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Very important. You can get the newsletter at Sedula House. You can get it at anunation.org. You can get it at orishareligion.com. Some of the other sites, make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Follow the show. Comment on it, especially you iTunes listeners. Definitely rate the show on iTunes and put your comments on it. That helps to bring our ranking up in iTunes, so the more people can see the shows and be aware of them. All right. So until next time, I am Yuya Asan Anu signing off. Uhuru Sasa.